Goswami Maharaj Shri Gurudev ki jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shatashmad Srila Bhakti Granta Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shatashmad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shatashmad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shatashmad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Pavishta Mahabhagavat Srila Bhaksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pavishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitil Pavishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Patadash Raghunath Sharda Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जाय। सर्व अभिष्ट विराट गिरिराज महाराज की जाय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जाय। श्री मुनि देवी गंगा देवी की जाय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जाय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जाय। श्री पूर्णमासी योगमाया की जाय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जाय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जाय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जाय। श्रीनिताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। Dandavat pranams. I am so excited to finally be resuming our Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam reading after how many days has it been? It's been, I think, like 9 days or something like that. Dandavat pranams Indira Mataji. So I don't have that book, that book I've been using. It's been so helpful for me. Kind of been depending on it throughout the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam reading this book, Bhagavat Subodhini. But I'm going to, one of these days, I need to go to Mayapur, and I'll try to pick up that book. And then our readings will be a lot more organized, and we'll have a better picture of where we are. Because I don't have time to read or study Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam outside of the live reading. So, anyways, okay, I'm going to share my screen now. And I know I read, oh wait, let's do Mangalacharna first. Okay. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Vanshakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha. Guruve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Itadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tar Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yang Pravrajantam Anupetam Apeta Krityam Dvaipayano Virahakatara Ajuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Taravobhinedu Stang Sarvabhuta Hridayam Munimanatosmi. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayit. Shrinvatang Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridantasto Yabadrani Vidunoti Suritsatam. Nashta Prayashvabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. Tavai vasmi na jivami tvaya vina. Iti vigyaya radhe tvam nayamam charanantikam. Bhaktya vihina aparada lakshay Shiptashtakama titarangamadhe Kripa mai tvam sharanam prapana vrinde namaste charanaravindam. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so I think I'm going to read this purport one more time just because it was so beautiful. And why not? Even though I've already read it once on Gaur Purnima. But okay, so the genealogical table of the daughters of Manu. And also sometime while I'm not in the morning time, but just some other time of the day, I want to read from this book, what is it called? Bhagavat Pravaha. And it's just a summary of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And that way we can just read a quick summary of the third canto and the fourth canto. And, just get another idea, reinforce. Help us get a good idea of where we are again. But I won't do that during this time. I'll do that at another time of the day so that we don't pause our reading anymore. Maitreya uvacha manostu shatarupayam tisra kanyascha jagire akutir devahutischa prasutir iti vishruta. Shri Maitreya said, Swayambhuva Manu begot 3 daughters and his wife Shatarupa, and their names were Akuti, Devahuti, and Prasuti. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. First of all, let us offer our respectful obeisances unto our spiritual master, Om Vishnupad Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, by whose order I am engaged in this Herculean task of writing commentary on the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam as the Bhaktivedanta purports. By his grace, we have finished 3 cantos already, and we are just trying to begin the 4th canto. By his divine grace, let us offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Chaitanya, who began this Krishna consciousness movement of Bhagavat Dharma 500 years ago, and through his grace, let us offer our obeisances to the 6 Goswamis, and then let us offer our obeisances to Radha and Krishna, the spiritual couple who enjoy eternally in Vrindavan with their cowherd boys and damsels in Vrajabhumi. Let us also offer our respectful obeisances to all the devotees and eternal servitors of the Supreme Lord. In this 4th canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, there are 31 chapters, and all of these chapters describe the secondary creation by Brahma and the Manus. The Supreme Lord himself does the real creation by agitating his material energy, and then, by his order, Brahma, the first living creature in the universe, attempts to create the different planetary systems and their inhabitants, expanding the population through his progeny, like Manu and other progenitors of living entities, who work perpetually under the order of the Supreme Lord. That was a long sentence. In the first chapter of this 4th canto, there are descriptions of the 3 daughters of Swayambhuva Manu and their descendants. The first chapter, again, and the next 6 chapters describe the sacrifice performed by King Daksha and how it was spoiled. Thereafter, the activities of Maharaj Dhruva are described in 5 chapters. Then, in 11 chapters, the activities of King Prithu are described, and the next 8 chapters are devoted to the activities of the Pracheta kings. So, the daughters of there's descriptions of the three daughters of Swayambhuva Manu, the sacrifice of King Daksha, that Shiva and Sati, that whole story, then Maharaj Dhruva and King Prithu, and then the activities of the Pracheta kings. As described in the first verse of this chapter, Swayambhuva Manu had three daughters named Akuti, Devahuti, and Prasuti. Of these three daughters, one daughter, Devahuti, has already been described, along with her husband Kardama Muni and her son Kapila Muni. In this chapter, the descendants of the first daughter, Akuti, will be specifically described. Swayambhuva Manu was the son of Brahma. Brahma had many other sons, but Manu's name is specifically mentioned first because he was a great devotee of the Lord. In this verse, there is also the word cha, indicating that besides the three daughters mentioned, Swayambhuva also had two sons. 2. Akutim ruchaya pradar api bratrit matim nripa putrika dharmamashritya shatarupanumodita. Akuti had two brothers, but in spite of her brothers, King Swayambhuva Manu handed her over to Prajapati Ruchi on the condition that the son born of her be returned to Manu as his son. This he did in consultation with his wife Shatarupa. Purport. Sometimes a sonless person offers his daughter to a husband on the condition that his grandson be returned to him to be adopted as his son and inherit his property. This is called putrika dharma, which means that by the execution of religious rituals, one gets a son, although one is sonless by one's own wife. But here we see extraordinary behavior in Manu, for in spite of his having two sons, he handed over his first daughter to Prajapati Ruchi on the condition that the son born of his daughter be returned to him as his son. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments in this connection that King Manu knew that the Supreme Personality of Godhead would take birth in the womb of Akuti. Therefore, in spite of having two sons, he wanted the particular son born of Akuti because he was ambitious to have the Supreme Personality of Godhead appear as his son and grandson. Manu is a lawgiver of mankind, and since he personally executed the Putrika Dharma, we may accept that such a system may be adopted by mankind also. Thus, even though one has a son, if one wants to have a particular son from one's daughter, one may give one's daughter in charity on that condition. That is the opinion of Srila Jiva Goswami. Okay. Prajapati sa Bhagavan ruchistasyam ajijana mitunam brahma varchasvi paramena samadhina. Ruchi, who is very powerful in his Brahminical qualifications and was appointed one of the progenitors of the living entities, begot one son and one daughter by his wife Akuti. Purport. The word Brahma Varchasvi is very significant. Ruchi was a Brahmin, and he executed the Brahminical duties very rigidly. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, the Brahminical qualifications are control of the senses, control of the mind, cleanliness within and without, development of spiritual and material knowledge, simplicity, truthfulness, faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, etc. There are many qualities which indicate a Brahminical personality, and it is understood that Ruchi followed all the Brahminical principles rigidly. Therefore, he is specifically mentioned as Brahma Varchasvi, or one who is born of a Brahmin father, but does not act. One who is born of a Brahmin father but does not act as a Brahmin is called, in Vedic language, a Brahma Bandhu, and is calculated to be on the level of Shudras and women. Thus, in the Bhagavatam, we find that the Mahabharata was specifically compiled by Vyasadeva for Stri Sudra Brahma Bandhu. Stri means women, Shudra means lower class of civilized human society, and Brahma Bandhu means persons who are born in the families of Brahmins but do not follow the rules and regulations carefully. All of these three classes are called less intelligent. They have no access to the study of the Vedas, which are specifically meant for persons who have acquired the Brahminical qualifications. This restriction is based not upon any sectarian distinction, but upon qualification. The Vedic literatures cannot be understood unless one has developed Brahminical qualifications. It is regrettable, therefore, that persons who have no Brahminical qualifications and have never been trained under a bona fide spiritual master nevertheless comment on Vedic literatures like the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and other Puranas, for such persons cannot deliver their real message. Ruchi was considered a first-class Brahman. Therefore, he is mentioned here as Brahma Varchasvi, one who had full prowess and Brahminical strength. Haribol Prajumna Prabhu. Yastayo Purusha Shakshar Vishnurya Swarupadrik Yastri Sa Dakshina Bhuter Angsha Bhutana Payini. Of the two children born of Akuti, the male child was directly an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his name was Yajna, which is another name of Lord Vishnu. The female child was a partial incarnation of Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, the eternal consort of Lord Vishnu. Purport. Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, is the eternal consort of Lord Vishnu. Here it is stated that both the Lord and Lakshmi, who are eternal consorts, appeared from Akuti simultaneously. Both the Lord and his consort are beyond this material creation, as confirmed by many authorities. Narayano Paro Vyaktat. Therefore, their eternal relationship cannot be changed, and Yajna, the boy born of Akuti, later married the goddess of fortune. Anenye swagriham putram vitataro chisham swayam bhuvo mudayukto ruchir jagraha dakshinam. Swayambhuva Manu very gladly brought home the beautiful boy named Yajna, and Ruchi, his son-in-law, kept with him the daughter Dakshina. Purport. Swayambhuva Manu was very glad to see that his daughter Akuti had given birth to a boy and a girl. He was afraid that he would take one son and that because of this, his son-in-law Ruchi might be sorry. Thus, when he heard that a daughter was born along with the boy, he was very glad. Ruchi, according to his promise, returned his male child to Swayambhuva Manu and decided to keep the daughter, whose name was Dakshina. One of the Lord Vishnu's names is Yajna because he is the master of the Vedas. The name Yajna comes from Yajusham Pati, which means Lord of all sacrifices. In the Yajurveda, there are different ritualistic prescriptions for performing yajnas, and the beneficiary of all such yajnas is the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Therefore, it is stated in Bhagavad Gita 3.9, Yagyartat karmana. One should act, but one should perform one's prescribed duties only for the sake of Yajna, or Vishnu. If one does not act for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or if one does not perform devotional service, then there will be reactions to one's activities. It does not matter if the reaction is good or bad. If our activities are not dovetailed with the desire of the Supreme Lord, or if we do not act in Krishna consciousness, then we shall be responsible for the results of all our activities. There is always a reaction to every kind of action, but if actions are performed for yajna, there is no reaction. Thus, if one acts for Yajna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is not entangled in the material condition, for it is mentioned in the Vedas and also in the Bhagavad Gita that the Vedas and the Vedic rituals are all meant for understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. From the very beginning, one should try to act in Krishna consciousness. That will free one from the reactions of material activities. Tam kamaya na bhagavan uvahaya jushampati tushtayam toshamapanno janayadvadashatmajan. The Lord of the ritualistic performance of yajna later married Dakshina, who was anxious to have the personality of Godhead as her husband. And in this wife, the Lord was also very much pleased to beget 12 children. Wow. So that means he married his twin sister. But, I mean, I guess it is Lakshmi and Narayan, so they're eternally consort. Purport. An ideal husband and wife are generally called Lakshmi Narayan to compare them to the Lord and the goddess of fortune, for it is significant that Lakshmi Narayan are forever happy as husband and wife. A wife should always remain satisfied with her husband, and a husband should always remain satisfied with his wife. In the Chanakya Shloka, the moral instructions of Shanyaka Pandit, it is said that if a husband and a wife are always satisfied with one another, then the goddess of fortune automatically comes. In other words, where there is no disagreement between husband and wife, all material opulence is present, and good children are born. Generally, according to Vedic civilization, the wife is trained to be satisfied in all conditions, and the husband, according to Vedic instruction, is required to please the wife with sufficient food, ornaments, and clothing. If they are satisfied with their mutual dealings, good children are born. In this way, the entire world can become peaceful. But unfortunately, in this age of Kali, there are no ideal husbands and wives. Therefore, unwanted children are produced, and there is no peace and prosperity in the present-day world. Tosha pratosha santosha bhadra shantir idaspati idma kavir vibhu svana sudevo rochana dvishat. The 12 boys born of Yajna and Dakshina were named Tosha, Pratosha, Santosha, Bhadra, Santi, Idaspati, Idma, Kavi, Vibhu, Swahana, Sudeva, and Rochana. Tushita namate deva asan swayam bhuvantare Marichi Mishrishayo Yagyasura Ganeshvara. During the time of Swayambhuva Manu, these sons all became the demigods collectively named the Tushitas. Marichi became the head of the 7 rishis, and Yajna became the king of the demigods, Indra. Okay. Purport. During the life of Swayambhuva Manu, 6 kinds of living entities were generated from the demigods known as the Tushitas, from the sages headed by Marichi, and from the descendants of Yajna, king of the demigods. And all of them expanded their progeny to observe the order of the Lord to fill the universe with living entities. These 6 kinds of living entities are known as Manus, Devas, Manuputras, Ansh Avatars, Sureshwars, and Rishis. Yajna, being the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, became the leader of the demigods, Indra. Priyavrata Tanapado Manuputro Mahojasho Tatputra Putra Naptrinam anuvrittam tarantaram. Swayambhuva Manu's two sons, Priyavrata and Uttanapad, became very powerful kings, and their sons and grandsons spread all over the three worlds during that period. Devahutam adattata kartamayatmajam Manu tat sambandhi shruta prayam bhavata gatato mama. My dear son, Swayambhuva Manu handed over his very dear daughter Devahuti to Kardama Muni. I have already spoken to you about them, and you have heard about them almost in full. Dakshaya Brahmaputraya Prasutim Bhagavan Manu Prayacharya Krita Sargas Trilokyam Vitato Mahan. Swayambhuva Manu handed over his daughter Prasuti to the son of Brahma named Daksha, who was also one of the progenitors of the living entities. The descendants of Daksha are spread throughout the three worlds. Ya Kardama Sutta Prokta Nava Brahma Shipatnaya Tasam Prasuti Prasavam Pramochya Manam Nipotame. You have already been informed about the 9 daughters of Kardama Muni, who were handed over to 9 different sages. I shall now describe the descendants of those 9 daughters. Please hear from me. Purport. The 3rd canto has already described how Kardama Muni begot 9 daughters in Devahuti, and how all the daughters were later handed over to great sages like Marichi, Atri, and Vashishta. Patni Marichistu Kala Sushuve Kardamatmaja Kashyapam Purnimam Manangcha Yayor Apuritam Jagat. Kardama Muni's daughter Kala, who was married to Marichi, gave birth to 2 children, whose names were Kashyapa and Purnima. Their descendants are spread all over the world. Purnima Sutta Virajam Vishvagam Cha Parantapa Deva Kulyam Hare Pada Shocharya Bhut Saritiva. My dear Vidura, of the 2 sons Kashyapa and Purnima begot 3 children, namely Viraja, Vishvaga, and Devakulya. Of these 3, Devakulya was the water which washed the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, and which later on transformed into the Ganges of the heavenly planets. Purport. Of the 2 sons Kashyapa and Purnima, herein Purnima's descendants are described. An elaborate description of these descendants will be given in the 6th canto. It is also understood herein that Devakulya is the presiding deity of the river Ganges, which comes down from the heavenly planets to this planet, and is accepted to be sanctified because it has touched the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. Atre patnas anasuyatrin jagye suyashasa sutan dattam durvasa samsonam atmesha brahmasambhavan. Anasuya, the wife of Atri Muni, gave birth to 3 very famous sons, Soma, Dattatreya, and Durvasa, who are partial representations of Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva, and Lord Brahma. Soma was a partial representation of Lord Brahma. Dattatreya was a partial representation of Lord Vishnu, and Durvasa was a partial representation of Lord Shiva. Purport. In this verse we find the words Atma Isha Brahma Sambhavan. Atma means a supersoul, or Vishnu. Isha means Lord Shiva, and Brahma means the four-headed Lord Brahma. Three sons born of Anasuya, Dattatreya, Durvasa, and Soma, were born as partial representations of these three demigods. Atma is not in the category of the demigods or living entities, because he is Vishnu. Therefore, he is described as Vibhinaksha Bhutanam. The supersoul Vishnu is the seed-giving father of all living entities, including Brahma and Lord Shiva. Another meaning of the word Atma may be accepted in this way. The principle, who is the supersoul in every Atma, or one may say, the soul of everyone, became manifested as Dattatreya, because the word Anksha, part and parcel, is used here. In Bhagavad Gita, the individual souls are also described as parts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or Supersoul. So why not accept that Dattatreya was one of those parts? Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma are also described here as parts, so why not accept all of them as ordinary individual souls? The answer is that the manifestations of Vishnu and those of the ordinary living entities are certainly all parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, and no one is equal to him. But among the parts and parcels, there are different categories. In the Varaha Purana, it is nicely explained that some of the parts are Svangsha, and some are Vibhinaksha. Vibhinaksha parts are called the Jivas, and Svangsha parts are in the Vishnu category. In the Jiva category, the Vibhinaksha parts and parcels, in the Jiva category, the Vibhinaksha parts and parcels, there are also gradations. That is explained in the Vishnu Puran, where it is clearly stated that the individual parts of the external energy, called illusion, is clearly stated that individual parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord are subject to being covered by the external energy called illusion or Maya. Such individual parts and parcels who can travel to any part of the Lord's creation are called Sarvagata and are suffering the pains of material existence. They are proportionately freed from the coverings of ignorance under the material existence according to different levels of work and under different influences of the modes of material nature. For example, the sufferings of jivas situated in the mode of goodness are less than those of jivas situated in the mode of ignorance. Pure Krishna consciousness, however, is the birthright of all living entities, because every living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. The consciousness of the Lord is also in the part and parcel, and according to the proportion to which that consciousness is cleared of material dirt, the living entities are differently situated. In the Vedanta Sutra, the living entities of different gradations are compared to candles or lamps with different candle power. For example, some electric bulbs have the power of 1,000 candles. Some have the power of 500 candles. Some have the power of 100 candles. Some 50 candles, etc. But all electric bulbs have light. Light is present in every bulb, but the gradations of light are different. Similarly, there are gradations of Brahman. The Vishnu Svangsha expansions of the Supreme Lord in different Vishnu forms are like lamps. Lord Shiva is also like a lamp, and the supreme candle power, or the 100% light, is Krishna. The Vishnu Tattva has 94%. The Shiva Linga the Vishnu Tattva has 94%. The Shiva Tattva has 84%. Lord Brahma has 78%, and the living entities are also like Brahma, but in the conditioned state, their power is still more dim. There are gradations of Brahman, and some Pavan indicate that Dattatreya was directly part and parcel of Vishnu, whereas Durvasa and Soma were parts and parcels of Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. What time is it? Oh, wow, it's not even 7:45 yet. Okay, I'm just going to read 16. and then I'll stop. Vidura uvacha atrer grihe surashishta stitutpatanta kinchit chikirshavo jata etarakya me guru. After hearing this, Vidura inquired from Maitreya, "My dear master, how is it that the three deities Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, who are the creator, maintainer, and destroyer of the whole creation, became the offspring of the wife of Atri Muni?" Purport. The inquisitiveness of Vidura was quite fitting, for he understood that when the Supersoul, Lord Brahma, and Lord Shiva all appeared through the person of Anasuya, the wife of Atri Muni, there must have been some great purpose. Otherwise, why should they have appeared in such a way? Yeah, this is too long. So, we'll hear the answer to this question tomorrow. That's a question. How is it that three deities Brahma, Vishnu, became the offspring of Atri? Okay. So, okay, I'll end here. This was the most exhausting curriculum for me. I think I already mentioned that, but I am just like so out of it right now. But hopefully I'll have my strength tomorrow. And finally, for this whole time that I've been doing these Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam readings from the beginning of Chaturmasya, I've had lots of different projects and deadlines, and I've never been able to just like fully focus and get into this. But now all my main deadlines have been reached already, and now I don't have any like hard deadline coming up. I do have a lot of work to do, but no hard deadline. So anyways, I'll be able to do this a lot more peacefully. I'll probably be able to go to sleep at a normal time every day, and so I'm looking forward to that. And probably it'll be more pleasant for you. You won't have to hear me falling asleep all the time. All right. Oh, and Prajumna is asking, Vidura Uvacha, what are they really, the Trimurti? Yes, but Srila Prabhupada said that they are partial manifestations, right? Partial manifestations. So they are Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, but not 100%. Or like they have, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it very clearly because I don't 100% understand it myself. But yeah, they're not fully Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura. Nitai Gaur Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Giridhari, Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Nityalapa Vishtam Vishnupad Ashvatara Shatashmari, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Srila Gurudev Ki Jai. Nityalapa Vishtam Vishnupad Ashvatara Shatashmari, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityalapa Vishtam Vishnupad Ashvatara Shatashmari, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nityarupa Vishtam Vishnupad Ashvatarashvata Shmad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nityarupa Vishtam Vishnupad Ashvatarashvata Shmad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nityarupa Vishtam Mahabhagavat Srila Goksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nityarupa Vishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nityarupa Vishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shri Raghunath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupa Gauriya Guru Bhargat ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Raghunath Shara Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Surup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Braja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradati Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radhakund Shamakund ki jai. Shri Manu Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Anantapati Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shnitai Gaur Premanande Hari Bol. Vrindai Tulsidevai Priyai Keshavashaja Krishna Bhakti Paradevi Sattvatai Namo Nama Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Pyai Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo. Alright, Dandavat Pranams. See you all tomorrow. I'm going to take a little nap now. Yes, indeed, Mataji, I'm also really looking forward to it. Jai Ho, Hari Bol. Thank you.